Welcome to Talk with the Nation, presented by the Premier, the Honorable McKeeva Bush. Join the Premier and other special guests as we look at all things Cayman, both present and future. This is Talk with the Nation. Here is Donna Bush.
Good evening, Cayman, and welcome to another Talk with the Nation show. This evening, Premier McKeeva Bush will be joining us to talk about his recent trip to London and about the Cayman Islands Framework for Fiscal Responsibility. As you know, or if you're just joining us, this is a live call-in show, so you can join the conversation later on by calling us at 946-9898. Also go online to facebook.com/talkwiththenation, or you can tweet us at TWTNKY, Talk with the Nation, /Talk with the Nation. It is a show where the facts are laid on the table and you, the listener, can learn more about all the positive things that government is doing. This is an educational show for you to know exactly about the happenings of the government, as well as what's happening within their departments and their policies as such. This evening, we're going to be talking about the Framework for Fiscal Responsibility, or the FFR. Premier McKeeva Bush will be here to outline and give us an overview of exactly what that is, and exactly what it means for you, our Caymanian people and residents, and our listeners out there. We'll be talking about things like what the Cayman Islands government is actually committed to in the Framework for Fiscal Responsibility, in line with the UK and their needs as well. We'll be reading a bit of a statement from the Office of the Premier that responds to a statement from the Office of the Governor recently that falls in line with the FFR. Mr. McKeeva Bush will be here to explain exactly what took place there. So it's just going to be an overview of the Framework for Fiscal Responsibility. For those of you out there who don't know exactly what that is, I'm going to be asking Premier Bush to explain that at the top of the show so that you'll understand and get the basic idea of what that means. Again, we will be talking about it. At the end of this show, we hope that you'll know exactly what it means for you, the people, and for us here in the Cayman Islands, and how you can be a part of exactly what happens as the Framework for Fiscal Responsibility goes to before members of the Legislative Assembly to be passed into law. All right, so this is Talk with the Nation here on Vibe 98.9. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will be joined by Premier the Honorable McKeeva Bush here on Talk with the Nation.
All things Cayman, present and future. This is Talk with the Nation with Donna Bush on Vibe FM, presented by the Premier, the Honorable McKeeva Bush.
And welcome back to the show. This evening we are going to be talking about the Framework for Fiscal Responsibility that the Cayman Islands government is now dealing with in conjunction with the United Kingdom government. If you're just joining us, though, or if you're just tuning in, we'd like to kind of recap some of the shows that we have gone through so far since starting Talk with the Nation back in August. We've talked about tourism. One of the first shows that we did was with Shamari Scott, who's the new director of tourism here in the Cayman Islands. He talked about the many strategic policies that they now have in place and the things that they're doing, all of the marketing, and what sort of positioning they're putting the Cayman Islands in. They also talked about the partnerships that they've formed with local businesses as well as local organizations such as the Cayman Islands Tourism Association to really help to promote and market the Cayman Islands as a leading destination, particularly for families and for the upscale visitor. We also talked about the new traffic law. Some officers from the RCIPS, as well as the director and deputy director of the Department of Vehicle and Driver's Licensing, were here with us, and they talked about the new law that came into effect. Particularly, one thing of interest to our listeners out there and the Cayman Islands in a whole was the partial ban on using cell phones while driving. Now, it's been about a week and a half since that law has gone into effect, and as far as I know, the police has stopped a number of people for still using their cell phones while they're driving. Now, again, it was a partial ban on cell phone usage while driving, which simply means that you can still have your cell phone. You just need to do it hands-free, using a Bluetooth headset, or if you have a Ford car that happens happens to have Microsoft Sync system, then you use it that way. Or you can simply pull off on the side of the road. They also talked about all the new fee increases that were going to be taking place, such as if you go to license your vehicle, you'll find that the fee has gone up. Also, they talked about the safety on the road and the fact that they were going to be more vigilant on our roads and stopping people who were breaking the traffic laws of the Cayman Islands. On one of the other shows, we had the Minister for Education here, the Honorable Rolston Anglin, to talk about the overhaul of the education system and the many great things that are happening with education. He talked about programs such as the Passport to Success, which sort of borders on the line of unemployment and helping those who may not otherwise be able to be employable get themselves up to speed. I do know that the minister and his team have now introduced Passport to Success into the Cayman Islands further education school system. That's a program called SciFact. Now, SciFact is a program where students who have finished the Year 11 program, one of the options is for them to go on to the SciFact program. And there, government has been able to implement a few programs there, such as the health and social program, where young women and men are able to go on and become nurses, people who can go into the health care system and become fully employed in those areas, as well as certain areas such as mechanics. I know a lot of the mechanic shops around the island are taking on some of these students, and they're going to be certified at the end of the 1 year that they do in the SciFact program. Not only will they have been able to repeat some subjects that they may have failed, or repeat subjects that they may want to do or get higher scores on or get higher exam results on, but they'll also be certified with a certificate in specific areas. So a great program there, lots of wonderful things happening with the education system. Another thing was the reintroduction of the reception program, and on that particular show I remember a few mothers calling us and questioning us about various parts of that system and how it would work. But that seems to be flowing quite nicely at a number of schools here on Grand Cayman, where it has been reintroduced. And I've been made to understand that, of course, as the minister mentioned, that it will be reintroduced to some of the other primary schools as well. If you're not familiar with what the reception program is, it's basically kids who are not of age to go on to the grade 1 or year 1 in primary school level, but they're getting prepared in a government school system. Another show, we talked about medical tourism. Medical tourism in this particular case, we were referring to the Cayman Islands Health City. Mr. Gene Thompson, one of the local partners and project manager for that particular project that's going to take place in East End in conjunction with Dr. Devi Shetty out of India. He was here, as well as Mr. Shamari Scott talked about how medical tourism is another arm of our tourism industry, and certainly one that we can embark on and are moving forward on as well. So we talked about that particular project and how it's going to benefit the Cayman Islands. Businesses are going to be, born out of this particular project, particularly in the East End area and the East End districts. Mr. Gene Thompson, was encouraging listeners to really, embark on trying to think of business ideas so that they can be prepared for when this particular project is completed. I know that they're planning on starting the actual physical structure sometime next year, early next year. And there's going to be, eventually there's going to be a 2,000-bed facility in the East End district. The first phase is going to just cover a 140-bed facility. Mr. Gene Thompson also talked to us about and told our listeners about the assistant living for our elderly, for people who may want to retire, not only, Caymanians, but people who may want to retire from overseas and would choose the Cayman Islands as a place to retire. There's going to be a nice retirement community actually within the Cayman Islands Health City that's going to be able to cater to our elderly and our retirees. Another one of our shows, our last week's show, we had MLA's Elio Solomon from Georgetown and MLA from Bordentown, Mr. Dwayne Seymour. Now, they were here to talk about the things that they have been doing in their particular districts as representatives of their constituents since being elected in May of 2009. They outlined the many things that they are doing. Mr. Solomon has been instrumental in bringing many bills to the Legislative Assembly and has been heavily supported by Mr. Dwayne Seymour, who's had his own motions and bills as well. And Mr. Elio Solomon has been particularly focused on helping people, for instance, and having a better life as far as in living conditions and so forth. So he's embarked on bringing about bills and motions and been lucky to have the support of the UDP government in passing bills such as the pensioners Caymanians being able to draw up to $35,000 on their pensions so that they can either build a home, buy a piece of land, or pay off the remaining of their existing mortgage. Mr. Seymour talked about the wonderful things that they've been doing in Bordentown as well. He and his colleague, Mr. Mark Scotland, Minister for Health, things as, they've been doing a lot of community work in making sure that their constituents up there, they've done some projects at the beach. I believe there's been a hold on on that particular project for right now, but they are planning on moving forward with that and making a better life for their people up there. The people in Bordentown will be able to go and have little areas where they can sell their goods and their products that are totally Caymanian to our visitors. So they're hoping that district, the Bordentown district, will become an area of interest where we can have more of an attraction in that district for visitors to the Cayman Islands as they go east. They also talked about, Mr. Dwayne Seymour also talked about the parks in the Bordentown area. There are a number of them that they have been able to have started and completed in conjunction with the DART Foundation. So those are some of the shows that we have done so far, a total of 5 of them, this being our 6th show. If you've missed any of our shows and you want to listen into them, you can go to youtube.com/talkwiththenation. That's youtube.com/talkwiththenation, and you should be able to listen in on exactly how these shows went, learn things that you may not have known otherwise, because that is the aim for this show that's been created by Premier, the Hon McKeeva Bush, here on Talk with the Nation. It is to educate and to lay the facts on the table. All right, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the framework for fiscal responsibility. We'll be back right here on Vibe 98.9 with Talk with the Nation in just a bit.
Are you looking for the best jerk shop in Cayman? Then stop by Rankin's Jerk Center in Bordentown. Our daily specials include jerk chicken and pork, oxtail and beans, and all your Caymanian favorites. Rankin's Jerk Center also has cook-to-order specials like conch fritters, chicken tenders and fries, grilled chicken sandwiches, and chicken quesadillas. Try our fresh fruit juices, cakes, and pies. It's all available at Rankin's Jerk Center on Shamrock Road in Bordentown. Open Monday to Thursday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Fridays and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. For phone orders or information, call us at 947-3155. Rankin's Jerk Center in Bordentown.
Now open for breakfast, Mondays to Thursdays, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Fridays to Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Want to know more why you should go nuts over coconuts? The market at the grounds is having their first ever coconut festival. And due to the weather, it will now be held this Saturday morning from 9 a.m. until noon. Learn how coconuts can improve your health. There'll be coconut rundown, conch stew, beans and pie, coconut candy, tarts, drops, ice cream, coconut water, and much more. Come see and taste for yourself. This Saturday, the market's open as usual, 7 a.m. The Coconut Festival kicks off at 9 a.m. with information and cooking demonstrations galore. There'll be live music and fun for the kids with a children's playground, face painting, pony rides, and a bouncy castle. Don't miss it. Cayman's first Coconut Festival. This Saturday, market at the grounds. grounds.
Tech Marine is Cayman's newest marine service company. With years of experience working in the South Florida fast-paced, high-volume marine industry, their techs are masters of their craft. They focus on Mercury outboard, Merc cruisers, Yamaha, Suzuki, Honda, Johnson Evinrude, and Volvo Penta gas engines. Whether it's a job that requires state-of-the-art computer diagnostics, engine repair, or electronic installation, their highly certified, experienced marine techs can get the job done. Call them today on 936-5000. That's 936-5000. Tech Marine, they take the guesswork out of boat repair.
It's the ultimate mobile deal. Lime Extra Large. Value for real. Talk more, text more, save more. It's true. With Lime XL Extra Large value.
Lime brings extra large value to you with Lime XL. Talk for 5 minutes, get the next 25 free. That's right. Talk for 5 minutes, get the next 25 minutes free.
So the next time your sister's boyfriend's best friend's cousin gets cozy with that girl you went to school with, you can tell them the whole piece of gossip.
More time, more fun. It's a dream come true. With Lime XL Extra Large value.
Offer available to Lime prepaid customers only. Terms and conditions apply.
Email Talk with the Nation now at twtn@vibefm.ky.
Good evening, Cayman, and welcome back to another Talk with the Nation show. If you're just joining us, welcome. Give your friends and family a call and let them know that we are going to be talking to Premier, the Honorable McKeeva Bush. He is in the studio with us now, and he's going to be talking about his recent trip to London, as well as about the Cayman Islands framework for fiscal responsibility here on Talk with the Nation. Again, this is a live call-in show. The number to call is 946-9898. We'll be opening the phone lines, and I'll let you know exactly when we'll be doing that. Or you can go online to facebook.com/talkwiththenation or tweet us at TWTNKY with your comments and questions. Again, Talk with the Nation is a show where the facts are laid on the table. This is supposed to be an educational show for all of you listeners out there. So at the end of the show, you're supposed to be more aware of exactly what's happening with our government and all the positive things that are going on in the country. Premier McKeeva Bush, thank you so much for being here with us this evening. I know that you're a busy man, and I'm sure that our listeners out there can appreciate the fact that you have your hands full, you have your plate full with the many things that you have to do. But we are here to talk about the framework for fiscal responsibility, and I'm sure acronyms such as FFR and PMLFL will be coming up. So I want you to begin by just telling our listeners out there exactly what FFR and PMFL stands for.
Well, thank you very much. I must apologize for being late, but I must say you did an excellent job in your recap.
Thank you.
I was at another very important meeting.
Yes.
What does FFR stand for? FFR stands for Framework for Fiscal Responsibility.
Right.
And the PMFL is the Public Management and Finance Law. Public Management and Finance Law is the law that we are governed by presently to do all our governing our financial regime.
Right.
Government's finances, in other words. That is the law that we have to adhere to.
Okay. There was a statement that was released from your office recently. Before we get underway and talk about exactly what the FFR is all about, I'm just going to read the first paragraph of the statement from your office, and then if you could explain to our listeners exactly why you responded to in this press release the way that you did. It says a statement from the Office of the Governor regarding assurances given by Premier McKeeva Bush to Minister Mark Simmons, who's from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in the UK, during a 20th of September courtesy call that the framework for fiscal responsibility will be transposed into law no later than November the 9th, 2012, has omitted important information that creates a misleading picture of what was discussed. What was that important information?
Well, let me say that on my way to a European Union meeting, which was being held in Greenland, Denmark and Greenland, I paid a courtesy visit to the new minister.
Right.
And it was not, I had no agenda. I didn't go for business. But they certainly had an agenda. They talked about a number of things, one being the framework for fiscal responsibility. The UK is pushing this heavily, and we agreed. I'll get to explain what it's all about.
Right.
But I didn't know they were going to make any statement. And in fact, the governor's statement was done, and then he sent to me to tell me that he had done a statement, quoting something which I never said at all. What I did say was to the minister was, look, I want this framework for fiscal responsibility too, and I'll say why, as I said, when I get into explaining.
Right.
And I told him why. But I said, this is something that, the public sector, private sector has to weigh in, because this talks about projects and governs projects, not just governing government finances as such. It governs any project anybody want to do with government, anything.
Right.
And so I explained to him that, preliminary reviews was some tweaking to be done with it. Some people is outright against it, but I am in support of putting something forward.
Okay.
And I told him that the day we signed it back last year. And he said, they were concerned that this is not done yet. And I said, look, that is going to be done, but it cannot be done until November when the House meets.
Right.
That gives us time to get feedback from the private sector and get the bill published and have it according to law, the standing orders require. And so I told him that it would be it would go to the House on November the 5th, and that in a few short days after it's passed, then it's left up to the UK, meaning the governor, to see that it goes into law.
Okay.
Which means that the governor will assent to it. That takes some time. There's a process in the House after the bill is passed.
Right.
A process, I think, with the AG's chambers and the governor to get a law assented to.
Okay.
So that's what I was saying to him. I never gave any commitment
date.
of any dates at all.
Okay.
Any dates at all. And I certainly didn't say that it would be put in as it is. Of course, that's what the UK want, because we are being told from people in the private sector that this is a draconian piece of agreement, and if it goes in as it is, it's draconian to the country, and it shouldn't be. And so the UK wants it for obvious reasons. And I will get to that, as I said in a minute. But I think they've gone overboard with it, and it's smacks of something of real draconian, and probably something that they had to deal with in the 40s and with various countries. India, it's something that sounds like something you would do in an era time such as those times, in a different way, but smacks of the same sort of efforts.
Right.
And so I didn't tell them that it would be put in, but I couldn't say that because I knew that the private sector is saying that there needs to be some tweaks to it.
Right.
Okay. And so I could never say that. And the governor, if he said that, if that came from him, then he was totally wrong.
Okay.
If it came from the Foreign Office, certainly it could not be. What I was amazed at, I'm not amazed because I'm not surprised at anything some of the reporters do in this country. That having an argument, not an argument, but having a difference between what the governor put out and what I put out. And my statement specifically said that in that meeting there was Lord Ben Cathra, our London representative. Right. There was Mr. Leonard Dilbert, the Chief of Staff, and then there was Mr. Richard Parchment, who was my assistant. Right. All three that was there in that meeting, and they could verify. Right. What was said. And of course, the papers didn't say anything about that. Why? Okay. Well, my opinion is the papers didn't say anything about it because they were being groomed, and certainly Brent Fuller had information already from the governor. Already had a story out, I believe. I guess because I was replying to it. So they had made their points, and they didn't want the world to know They didn't want the world to know that, look, there were 3 people in there also that can verify what the Premier had to say.
Okay. All right.
And of course, that is why that I am here on this program, and that's why this program exists.
Right.
Because
Set the record straight.
to put the record straight and keep it straight.
Okay.
It's not going to get done by reporters who are overzealous or who are out at least to try to destroy me politically.
Well, it would.
And another way they can.
Yeah. Well, it would seem, looking at if you read through the FFR, the Framework for Fiscal Responsibility, that one could almost believe that the UK government certainly wants to put in very stringent restrictions. Probably doesn't appreciate the fact that you might need some public consultation or want
Well,
to do
they should
that.
appreciate that. They should appreciate that. But they will say that you had time to do so. Well, there has been time, but this is not a small document. Huh?
Right.
This is a very important document. That you put it into law, it's going to exist forever.
Yeah, the implications are far-reaching.
Are very far-reaching. Now let's get to the FFR then, if I can.
What is the FFR
What does the
about?
FFR stand for? Let me just say. Now, what it stands for, as I said, stands for Framework for Fiscal Responsibility. Now, why did the FFR have to be signed? When we got elected, and the period running up to that, during the last government, the big projects that the previous PPM government started, without funding and without the kind of procurement that the UK government is now demanding of our projects. That's one. 2, the extremely large expenditures of government's money and the deteriorating revenue base that existed at the same time, and that also left, as a result of these projects, the way government money was spent.
Right.
3, these expenditures place the government's revenue and expenditures completely out of whack, with an $81 million deficit as of May 2009, which created deficits in successive budgets, even affecting this current budget 3 years on. And that's what deficits do. But also of the very huge borrowings that the PPM undertook at the time.
Right.
All those things, the previous government haven't done all the above. Our ratios, which we are guided by, which exist in the public management and finance law, were then broken. All the ratios were broken. Right. They were breached. The ratios of loan to the loans and the deficits, all these things, the key elements of the budget, which we remain intact so the UK don't step in on us.
Right.
They were broken, and the PPM caused that.
So there were things like, we're supposed to have like a 90-day reserve, for instance.
Yeah, all that was down.
Okay,
all that was down.
The debt ratio.
The reserves, those three ratios, mean ratios, were all down.
Okay.
Now, having broken those ratios, which are by law, that allowed the Foreign Commonwealth Office, the UK government, to take some control of our budget process.
Right.
The overspending of the previous government allowed the UK to be able to tell the Cayman Islands government what to do with respect to our budgets, even though their own government, the UK government, don't follow the same stringent advice we are held to task on. Nevertheless, because the UK can do it, they do it. They do it.
Right.
Now, that's why the FFR had to be signed.
Right.
That's why they had to be signed.
It's almost like an MOU, though, right? It's just
an agreement. It's not. That's why they are pushing me, and they will put their boot on my neck too, if I don't get it into law. And they have said that. I mean, they have said that in other words.
Okay.
They have said that if I don't get it in law, they will take measures to take back the budget. No, they can't do that. A court of law would not allow them. They might try. But you can believe, not after giving the permission, not after doing what we've done with the budget, can the UK government think they can ride roughshod over the sovereignty, that much sovereignty of this country? No, they can't. Anyway, There is no two ways about it. I want to, after the mess that I found, I want to strengthen our financial regime.
Right.
That's me as a person. That's me as a Minister of Finance. I do not want any government in the future to have to go through what me and my government, my colleagues, has been subjected to, particularly so when the world economy is in such a slump, and locally there is unemployment, there's loss of business, mortgages can't be paid, people don't have money to spend. This is a bad position to be in, and then to have any person, any institution, any government, as the UK government is now, telling me what I can and can't do for the people of this country, and they themselves not doing anything to help us. They're not doing anything to help the unemployment. They're not doing anything to help with the mortgages. People losing their homes. So I don't want nobody to get in that position. We are in that position because we can't move, we couldn't move forward.
Right.
They slowed us down on projects. And so the things that we could do to get the economy going, we can't because of their control.
Right.
So this has been a very rough ride economically. And so to have government's finances in a shambles at a time as this is terrible.
Right.
It's terrible. So to have extra safeguards is quite right. The United Kingdom is quite right about that. And that's what I want. They're right and that's what they want. But they have to work, whatever safeguards are put in, have to work for Cayman.
Right.
They have to work for these islands. The UK has not, will not give us anything. And I don't want anything from them. So how would we survive if the UK pushes a draconian regime on us? We would not survive. And some of the things are not helping in this FFR.
Okay.
So the UK had control, so they could do this. We needed in 2000. Why did I sign? Let's ask the question.
Right.
Let's ask the question. Why did I sign it? But I didn't want to, and we fought it for a long time. But in November, I had to sign. We had to get borrowing. They had the control. We needed $185 million, and we couldn't. We couldn't cut out of the budget $185 million. We had to borrow. To borrow, you got to get their agreement. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So we could not cut out $155 million from our budget unless we agreed to massive layoff of staff, which the former UK government had agreed to, and I refused, and massive loss of programs like the old people benefits and the scholarships and so on.
Right.
Siemens and so on, all those things, veterans and so on, and other programs you can believe.
Right.
We would have had to, if you cut out $185 million, that's what would have happened. If I couldn't do that, so David Shaw, who did a previous study for us, it was one of them that had done the Miller-Shaw report. I consulted with him, and we were advised by Mr. Shaw to sign the FFR.
Okay.
To get it. That's what we had to do. Simple as that.
Right.
But in doing that, I told them it was draconian. I didn't think it was right. And that, some changes would have to be made.
Okay.
And I can tell you, in signing it, I wanted a taped video session.
Okay.
And they agreed reluctantly.
Okay.
But because of the things that I said, but before we got to the taping of it, I wanted a clause in the FFR,
okay,
which said that if the Cayman Islands, and I quote, if the Cayman Islands incurred any monetary loss or reputational damage due to the advice given by the United Kingdom, then the United Kingdom would correct and or pay for that reputational or financial loss.
okay,
what that was doing, that was holding them responsible for their actions. Accountability. Well, that was rejected strongly by the UK. They said, ain't no way we're signing this. We're not signing this. You're mad if you think we're going to sign this.
Okay.
We're not your territory, you're our territory. That's what I was told. And David Shaw then advised me to sign it.
Okay.
When I couldn't get that, and he says, it's not going to happen, and you need your budget, you need your $185 million to get it done.
Right.
So with all that they are demanding, all that the UK is demanding in this FFR, they are not infallible.
Okay.
They are not infallible, and if this is a partnership, then where is their accountability? That's what I'm saying. And for anything, that's what I want. That's what I want this to say.
Okay. All right.
I want to hold them accountable as well.
Sure.
What they're doing is, is holding us accountable to very stringent rules that is going to stop us from getting some things done in this country. And I'll go on in a minute to explain that.
All right, we're going to take a break here and Talk with the Nation. We're here talking to Premier the Honorable McKeeva Bush about the framework for fiscal responsibility. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
At Paramount Carpet and Tiles, we believe in quality products, affordable pricing,